Okay, so today we're joined by Angie. Angie, thank you very much for coming to talk to me. I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about your company and what it is you guys do.
Yeah, happy to.
So,
Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
Yeah, we're obviously a pet transport company called Dogtainers Pet Transport. We've got offices located all around Australia and have been operating for a whopping 50 years this year. And got the big anniversary this year, 50 years doing it. And I believe we're one of the oldest specialising in that in the world, one of the oldest in the world. So definitely the oldest in Australia.
Yeah.
And basically specialise in domestic transport, but as well as exporting pets and importing them.
And how have you found things have been the past year? Have they been, obviously things keep chopping and changing with flights and stuff, but has business changed a lot?
Yes, it has. At the start of COVID, obviously, we expected things to be pretty detrimental in the travel industry, as it has been for your regular human travel agents. But actually, it's gone the other way for animal travel agents. Globally, we're all so busy because particularly because people are getting home to wherever they originate from. When we're talking internationally, of course, and they're getting their pets home, and they're still doing it because of the lengthy processes that are involved in finding flights and things like that. So business is very, very busy. Domestically as well, a lot of people are adopting now because they're home.
Right,
so
okay.
we're experiencing a lot of people in need, and we're helping them out as best we can.
Pandemic puppies.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but we were discussing offline about the fact that flights just cancel, I guess, or states might go into lockdown all of a sudden, so that must throw everything just completely out the window for flights.
Yes, it makes things a lot busier. Even so, on top of the numerous people wanting to move pets, on top of that, we experience the flight cancellations much like passengers do. So we, are finding ourselves, having to be very quick to the mark to, rebook pets and get in touch with clients and just make things work the best they can, figure out alternative routes and problem solving on the spot. So it definitely makes for a very, very lively office environment, but, it's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose you are travel agents for pets, as you said. It's very similar having to deal with lockdowns and cancellations.
Yeah.
I get asked a lot of similar questions for families who are relocating with their animals, and I thought it'd be helpful if we could answer some of those questions that I always get asked, because I never fully know the answers to them. I know bits and pieces, but they'll be better coming from a professional. So one of the top questions we get asked is, obviously a lot of people are moving overseas, but even interstate. How do their pets get cared for during a flight regarding movement and hydration?
Yeah, certainly. So there are, very strict rules in place with the welfare of animals as a top priority, because we are an animal loving nation. So essentially, before any flight, a pet is required to have water in their crate and to have it filled before departure. So they have to be ensured hydration before then. We don't send them with food because that's actually more dangerous than it is helpful, because you don't want them being sick from travel, just as humans get, and then ingesting that. So we just do water, and obviously an empty tummy just a few hours before travel, depending on where they're going or how long they're traveling for. And then when they're on the flight, they're secured in their crate, which are, the international standard to meet those crates with ventilation and with, sizing even has to be quite, perfectly placed, however long or short the animal is, so that they're not too large as to be knocked around or too small as to be cramped. During the flight, they are held in a special cargo section of the plane. It is pressurized, it is temperature controlled, because it has to be safe for a living being to be in. Yeah. There isn't any supervision down there because there's no safe space for humans to be, because they're not able to be put in crates. But the animals are checked before they depart, right before they depart. and obviously as soon as they get off the flight, and they're also to be the last loaded onto a flight and the first offloaded from a flight, so that they're, not sitting there for extended periods of time.
Oh, that's good. What happens when they come off the flight? Where do they go?
Yeah, so generally they're taken by the aircraft handlers or the airport handlers to a safe location, generally an indoor area, depending on which kind of airport we're talking, because regional obviously has different provisions to, say, a large airport like Sydney, Melbourne. And so they're taken to an area within the airport that is secure, so pets can be, stored away from the aircraft and away from vehicles and things like that. Generally, it is also temperature controlled, and that is where they refill their water again until such time that they're picked up, which is generally, about a half an hour process.
Oh, right. Okay, so quite quickly.
Yeah.
And when you say get picked up, do you mean by the quarantine people?
Depends if we're talking internationally or we're talking domestically. So if we're talking domestically, it can be the owners at the airport handover section at the cargo area. It can be our staff or whomever is picking up the animal. If we're talking internationally, coming into Australia, it is the quarantine staff that are collecting them and taking them straight over to the facility.
Right, okay. Yeah, because you guys pick them up and you can deliver them straight to people's houses, can't you?
We can. Yeah, definitely.
So if I had two pets, like two dogs, could they travel in a crate together if the crate was big enough?
Typically speaking, yes and no. It depends on some things. So everyone's a little bit different. Those being, are you traveling, with Qantas? Are you traveling with Virgin? The animal's a certain size, so they can safely travel together. So it doesn't, compromise the weight of the weight limitations of the crate. So there's a few factors there to determine if they can travel together. Typically speaking, they also need to be under a certain age so that we know that they're going to be safe, because animals react differently in a stressful situation, which flight can be stressful. So usually if they're, say, puppies under a certain weight, then they can share a crate, because then they'll have enough space and they'll have that company. If they're large animals, generally they will travel in their own space, in their own kennel, just for the duration of the flight.
Right. Do you ever have cats in together?
Yes, not as often, because cats, we just don't know if they're going to appreciate having another cat with them. Just don't know. But yeah, there's no reason to say that they can't if they fulfill those requirements of being allowed to share a crate, again, with the age limitations, the weight limitations.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think a lot of people worry, obviously, about their pets, especially dogs. I've found people are worried about them, but I've always heard most stories I've heard, everybody goes, oh, they were fine when we went to pick them up. Does that tend to be the case? Do dogs generally travel well by air?
Yeah, I mean, animals are much more resilient than we give them credit for. I mean, typically speaking, it's a stressful time to be popped onto a plane and flown somewhere, but once they get there and they, are united with their either their new family or their current family, they can overcome it quite quickly. So you take them home and you give them a moment to become familiar with their surroundings. Regardless of flight, it's a new surrounding if they are relocating, and soon enough they're over it. Within a couple of days, they get the rest that they need, because sometimes they just need a bit of a snooze just to help them get through. And they do cope with it very, very well.
That's great. And my favorite question recently has been in regards to lost luggage. They said obviously luggage does go missing, and it always gets delivered eventually, but what controls do you guys have in place to ensure that doesn't happen to a pet?
Yes, so there are a lot of measures in place when you're talking about animals so that doesn't happen. Essentially, every animal gets a unique airway bill, which is a ticket basically, and parties on both sides of the location need to confirm that this animal is coming your way, make sure that you're there, basically. So, when we're speaking internationally, especially, the animals are logged into a system. Even the captain is made aware that their animals are on board, and then you can actually track the airway bill, much like a package, even to show where the animal is being, scanned and checked into in each location. Especially where there's multi-legs, you want to make sure that their ticket's being scanned each time.
Yeah.
So so there definitely are these measures to show that teams are receiving them on both ends that work for the airline. The same domestically. And, if a pet shows up to another airport, let's say in a very rare circumstance, very unlikely to happen, the staff there will be saying, there's an animal here, and they'll look up this unique airway bill number, and even if it's that someone's a little bit delayed picking them up, they're onto it. They'll call us in many cases if we've booked it, to say, hey, the owner's not here yet, and then we'll come down and we'll take care of them until such time can be collected. So there's measures in place definitely for the safety of the animal.
That's good. And you mentioned like multiple legs, especially if you're coming internationally. So if you were having a couple of stop-offs, what happens to the pet at the stop-off points?
Yes, so at the very basic level, they're checked over by the staff who are attending to that layover point. Their water is refilled, and that their general welfare is confirmed, that they're fine to then proceed to the next departure point. In some circumstances, they are actually taken to, a facility, an air-conditioned facility, given a bed and a little run of their own, even a meal, and obviously extra water, an opportunity to toilet. So depending on the length of the layover and the location of the layover, that can also be provided. Quite often for imports into Australia, that is something that we do. So they're at the very basic of times, their welfare is checked and they're rehydrated.
Is that common to have that sort of go away and get some food and a place to get out? Is that common with Australia just because of the flight times here are pretty long?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right. Just with the flights that we can find, quite often we do have that, almost day-long layover. So if there's any time where it'll exceed just, even a few hours, often we find that we're getting the pets seen to and, allowed out of the crate where we are allowed to do that.
And if you were allowed out, are the owners allowed to visit if it's just a stopover?
No. So it is very, very strict as to where the animals are kept, which is usually airside, and it's usually manned by a quarantine type staff setup because of the biosecurity that's involved. So we cannot risk animals obviously entering another country that they're not really registered to go to. So owners do the same thing, a biosecurity risk or a security risk indeed going to an airside layover. So fair enough. See them at the destination.
And then when they get to quarantine, what's that like? Obviously they're there for 2 weeks, is it, in Australia?
Just short of that, 10 days.
So slightly less than human quarantine at the moment.
Yeah.
And what happens to them there? Can you visit them in quarantine?
No, you can't visit them there in quarantine, just because of the fact that, there is a very, again, strict biosecurity measure to keep everything clean and safe for these animals that have come in from all over the world to comply to Australian import standards. So only visit only on pickup, basically. The area itself is, I like to think it's still quite new. It was built, I can't remember the year it was built, but it wasn't too long ago that the Melbourne Mickleham quarantine facility was built, and it houses animals of all types. We specialise obviously in dogs and cats, where they all receive their own substantially sized run, where they have their own bed, their own entertainment, food and water and things like that, and they're tended to, daily throughout the day by the very well-equipped staff there.
Oh, cool. Do they provide any updates, or do you just get an update saying your dog's arrived safely and it's now in quarantine?
Yeah, the updates are you usually get around, say, about 3 that they've arrived, that they've passed their compliance checks, which means they've passed their health check and their paperwork check over, and obviously that then that they've been released. You can call any day of the week, apart from weekends, for an update on how your pet's going, because they keep regular notes through their staff on how they're feeding, drinking, toileting, and their general demeanour. So you can check in on them.
Oh, that's nice. And you mentioned like passing their paperwork and stuff like that. Obviously, it's probably dependent on which country they're coming from, but how far in advance would you say people need to be looking at their pet transport needs and vaccination needs?
Yeah, so when we're talking most countries, which we call Group 3 or Category 3 countries, that means that there is or was rabies present, but it's under control. So with those countries, which most of are, we're talking USA, European nations, basic most of the places, then I would say a minimum 6 months preparation, minimum.
Okay.
And that is because you require rabies vaccination, and then after that, a rabies blood test. And our department requires a minimum of 100 days to lapse before they can enter the country. So there is a long wait.
Sorry, I think the internet just cut out when you said the minimum number of days. I couldn't hear it there. What did you say about this?
Yeah, there's a minimum 180-day wait between rabies testing and entry to Australia. So that is the big time period for people to wait and plan for when planning their trip for their pets home to Australia.
Yeah, that is quite a long time. I think I've had people who were flying prior to that time period lapsing, so they came first and then the dogs came after. So I suppose if people are cutting it a bit fine, they've got ways around it. If they've got somebody to look after the pet in their starting country, I guess.
Yeah, and we had that quite a bit, especially during COVID. A lot of people had to rush home and leave their pets behind while they finished preparations, and that's absolutely fine. You don't have to travel with your pet. You just, you can meet them later. You can travel ahead, travel behind, doesn't matter, as long as the pet's requirements are filled with those minimum time periods, then it's absolutely fine. With other countries that we call Group 2, which is rabies free, there is still waiting periods, but much shorter. And we would say, probably at least 3 months planning for that. And so the preparations are much less because there's no need to have those rabies sort of preparations anyway. Yeah.
And that's it, just Group 3 and Group 2?
That is just for Group 2. So a lot of island nations that are free of rabies, like Singapore and Hawaii, Japan, those sorts of nations. Right. New Zealand is completely different again. So no quarantine, just come into the country with just a vet visit and, some paperwork, and then they can go into any major location in Australia.
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
How come they don't have it?
That is because we pretty much maintain the same biosecurity status, the same diseases, if not we have a little bit more than them. So there's no need for quarantine, no need for import permits. They just basically need to have, their fleas and ticks treated, and then they head on over. So, at least a couple of weeks notice for that one, depending on, how difficult it is to get a flight space more so. Yeah. But they can come into Sydney, Perth, Melbourne, Brisbane, those major ports where you can get a direct flight, and then we just clear customs and we're done.
Oh, that's
same day.
Good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they have more security procedures going Australia to New Zealand then, if we've got more diseases here?
It's pretty much the same, except that we do have to do certain blood testing for dogs 2 weeks prior to departure, because they don't have certain tick-borne diseases that we do. So yeah, there's just probably maybe a little bit more planning, probably a month in advance, I'd say, just to make sure that those blood tests are done at the right time, and then obviously they go straight in. Again, no quarantine, but it's very important for us to not have any fleas or ticks on animals before they go in, because New Zealand is still very highly protective of diseases that come from that. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's super helpful. Thanks very much. I don't think I have any more questions. Do you have anything else that you need us to know?
I'm just trying to think. I mean, at this time, obviously we're in very, very difficult times globally. So we are working very hard to help many families around the country, around the world even. And we're finding that it's very, very competitive to get in to quarantine, onto flights. So my advice to everyone is plan ahead as much as you possibly can by getting in touch with us, or and just asking any kind of questions to help with the preparation process, because there's a lot involved behind the scenes, and that is exactly why we exist, so that we can tackle those issues and solve those problems and make it happen for them. And we're happy to do it.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you very much. That was really great. Thanks, Angie.